The twin suns of Cathara Prime were setting behind the crystalline mountains when Arya heard the cry. It wasn't the sound of wind through the bioluminescent forests, nor the hum of her research station's generators. It was something primal, a keening wail that spoke of pain and desperation. She abandoned her equipment without hesitation, her boots crunching against the violet moss as she ran toward the sound. The other researchers had warned her about the apex predators of this world. The Catharan razorbacks, they called them. Six-legged, beasts with armored hides and jaws that could crush starship plating. The locals worshipped them as gods of the hunt. The colonists feared them as instruments of death. Arya found Vren in a ravine, half buried beneath a rockslide. The cub was barely the size of an earth lion, though its midnight black scales and ridge of crystalline spines marked it as something far more dangerous. One of its hind legs was trapped, twisted at an unnatural angle. Blood, iridescent blue in the fading light, pooled beneath its body. The creature's eyes locked onto her, yellow, slit-pupilled, filled with fear and fury. It snarled, baring rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through anything foolish enough to approach. Arya should have left. Protocol demanded it. Common sense screamed it. But she had spent her entire life studying creatures that others dismissed as monsters, and she recognized something in those eyes that transcended species, the desperate plea of a child in pain. "Easy," she whispered, dropping to her knees just beyond striking range. "I'm not going to hurt you." Vren snapped at the air between them, but the movement made him cry out again. The sound cut through Arya like a blade. She could see the rocks pinning his leg, could see the way his breathing had become shallow and rapid. Without help, the cub would die here. And if she tried to help, those jaws might be the last thing she ever saw. She activated her comm unit. "Station 7, this is Arya. I need medical supplies and a graviton lifter." The response crackled through. "Negative, Arya. You're in Razorback territory after dark. Return immediately, that's an order. There's an injured cub here, I can't just... Those things travel in packs. The mother will be hunting. If she finds you near her offspring, you're dead. Come back now." Arya looked at Vren. The cub had stopped snarling. Its eyes were glazing over, the fight draining from its body along with its blood. She thought about her sister back on Earth, about the dog they'd found hit by a car when they were children. She remembered how they'd stayed with it through the night. Two small girls refusing to let something die alone. "I'm staying," she said, and disconnected the comm. The first sun dipped below the horizon. Cathara's night was unlike anything on Earth. The sky didn't darken so much as transform, filled with 3 moons and a tapestry of stars so dense they cast actual shadows. The temperature plummeted. Arya's breath became visible in the suddenly frigid air. She moved closer to Vren, slowly, telegraphing every movement. The cub watched her with failing strength, too weak now to do more than growl softly. Arya removed her thermal jacket and carefully draped it over the creature's torso, avoiding the injured leg. "I know you don't understand me," she said softly, settling beside the cub. "But you're not alone. I promise you're not alone." Vren's breathing steadied slightly at the warmth. One yellow eye fixed on Arya, and for a moment, the predatory instinct gave way to something else. Recognition, perhaps, or simple gratitude. Hours crawled by. The cold bit deep, turning Arya's fingers numb despite her thermal underlayer. She used her emergency medical kit to treat what injuries she could reach, speaking constantly to keep the cub calm. She told Vren about Earth, about oceans and forests, about her sister and the dog they'd saved. She talked about why she'd come to the stars, to prove that the universe's dangerous creatures deserved understanding, not extermination. The forest around them came alive with sounds, rustling in the undergrowth, the distant roar of an adult razorback. Arya's heart hammered, but she didn't move. If Vren's mother came, she would die. She had accepted this the moment she chose to stay. But the hours passed, and the adult never appeared. Perhaps it was hunting far from its territory. Perhaps it had abandoned its injured offspring, as some species did. Arya would never know. What she did know was that Vren's breathing grew stronger as the night wore on. The bleeding slowed. The cub's body heat, combined with her jacket, created enough warmth to stave off shock, and gradually, impossibly, those yellow eyes lost their fear. Around the 4th hour, Vren did something that made Arya's breath catch. The cub shifted its massive head and rested it against her leg, not in attack, but in trust. The gesture was so achingly familiar, so much like every dog, every cat, every creature that had ever sought comfort from a human, that tears froze on Arya's cheeks. She placed her hand on the cub's head, between the crystalline spines, and felt the strong heartbeat beneath the scales. "We're going to make it," she whispered. "Both of us." The second sun began its rise, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. With the light came warmth, and with warmth came hope. Arya heard the hum of engines. Her colleagues had disobeyed station orders and come after her with the graviton lifter and a full medical team. As they freed Vren's leg and stabilized the cub, Arya watched the creature's eyes. They never left her face. Not in threat, but in memory. This predator would remember the human who refused to abandon it, who stayed through the cold and dark, when death circled and fear demanded flight. In the years to come, when Vren had grown into a massive adult razorback and Arya continued her research in Kethera's wilderness, the locals would speak of the human who walked among the apex predators untouched. They would call it magic, or madness, or divine protection. But Arya knew the truth. It was simpler and more profound than any of those things. It was the memory of a night when two beings from different worlds learned that compassion required no translation, and that sometimes the bravest thing a human could do was simply stay,